Reparations for black people will only create more black ghettos. Reparations for black people will only create more black ghettos. We'll get into that today as Asheville, North Carolina votes 7-0 to start paying reparations to African American members and their descendants. 7-0. In the night, July 14th, the month we celebrate our independence and freedom, we have reparations being installed. Welcome to How to Build a Tent. My name is Matt Williams. Thank you for listening to the show, sharing the show, tagging a friend, subscribing on the YouTubes. Be a subscriber and be a member of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Go over to flfnetwork.com, put an HTBT in a memo field, get a sweet mug, get a Fight Laugh Feast shirt, get tons of other great benefits. Go over there. Help support us as we proclaim the Lordship of Jesus in every area of life. Fight against the Marxism, the tyranny, the racism, like we see in Asheville, Tennessee. And again, there's tons of people reaching out to me on Facebook and other social media sites, How to Build a Tent. I can't reply back to all of you. I'm sorry about that. I read everyone, but I just can't reply back. You can email me, Matt, at howtobuildatent.com. Same thing. I can't reply back to all of you, but I do read them all. And if I can provide value, I will try to get back to you as much as possible. All right, let's get into it. The beautiful Asheville, North Carolina. And it's so sad coming from California. We just had our show yesterday where we were talking about and encouraging you that even if Orange County, a county in California, can vote in some sanity into the school board, that should give us hope, and we should be aspiring for positions in local government where we could be doing the same. Because if you can have some sort of resemblance of wisdom in a crazy state like California, then anywhere that you are, then you could do the same and have an impact that is meaningful with the limited resources that you have. We all can't, influence national elections or whatnot. But just as beautiful as California was, let us remember that the great Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And I love looking at California because California has everything you could ever want. It's kind of like Venezuela from a resources perspective. Resources in Venezuela were full of oil. But in California, you have mountains, you have beaches, you have the Central Valley that is just lush and perfect. Perfect for farming, supplying resources and food and all that stuff to millions and millions, if not billions of people. And probably not billions of people. I mean, that might be a little over exaggeration, but millions and millions of people. And the state is being destroyed over the last couple of decades, really, because Democrats run it. And liberal progressive policies are not progressive, they're destructive. Liberal progressive policies are destructive. And you don't believe me? When's the last time you've gone to San Francisco? I've gone to San Francisco quite a bit in the last couple of years before, the travel restrictions and whatnot, because I have been consulting for companies that are acquiring startups and stuff. And hey, there's a lot of startups in Silicon Valley and San Francisco area. So I've been going there a lot, and it's disgusting. The city is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Just beautiful landscapes, beautiful architecture, the homes, the cities, and it's just littered in feces. Quite literally littered in feces and needles and homeless people. Just like LA. LA could be one of the most beautiful places in the world, but it's overrun. It's disgusting. It's in destruction. And the same is true of Asheville, North Carolina. Now, I don't know of North Carolina as a state. I don't know it too well. I went to it for the first time a little bit ago. But flying in, mountains, trees, the most beautiful, or not the most beautiful, but one of the most beautiful places that I've seen in America. It's a hidden gem. I promise you that it is. And Asheville, from what I hear, it's a really cool city. It's up and coming. There's a lot of tech industry. There's a lot of breweries and all those things, the mountains. And again, the weather's pretty decent in North Carolina. I mean, it's not like a California weather or Hawaii, but compared to other northern states, it's pretty temperate. Beautiful place, but yet it is run by idiots. It's run by fools. It's run by people that reject God's law, that don't think that they need to submit to God's authority, and they don't think they need to play by God's rules. And the consequence is the same of what we've seen over 20, 30 years in California. We're going to see the same thing that we see in Asheville. The same things that we've seen in Chicago, we're going to see in Asheville. The same things that we see in Detroit, we see in Chicago, New York, Minneapolis. Do you know the theme here? It's all people that have rejected God and gone the opposite way. They want to steal. They want to incentivize covetousness. They want to take from other rich people and give to the poor. They want to take from certain people and give to others. There's tons of preference. There's tons of favoritism. And all of these policies lead to one place, destruction, because the wages of sin is death. True spiritually, but also true in our government, in our churches, in our families, and in our own personal lives. Here on earth, now, God created this world with consequences. And when we reject God, the evidence is clear. You don't have to be an economist. You don't have to be a business person. You don't have to be a politician. You don't have to be a super genius. You don't have to be the most wise person since Solomon. But when you look around our country, where are the places that are rising in crime, that are skyrocketing debt, that are being destroyed? It's people implementing these kinds of policies. Hands down, no debate about it whatsoever. What are the states doing better? The ones that are doing less of that stuff and are doing more of the things that are in alignment with what God has created with natural law and what he prescribes in the Bible. All right, let's get into this article. 7-0 vote in the night of July 14th. And this is what one council member says. Hundreds of years of black blood spilled that basically fills the cup we drink from today. That's kind of gross, I'm not going to lie. But it makes me wonder, what about my Jewish family? Like, how many times have civilizations been built on the backs of the Jews? Where's our reparations? And how come we were able to get ahead as a people generally and have the most Nobel Peace Prizes by percentage of the population, have the most billionaires by the percentage of the world population? I think that's true. I don't know if that last one is true. We as a general people have done pretty well for ourselves for being enslaved several times over. Call me crazy. I don't believe we've ever gotten reparations for anything. Unless you want to count, back in the day when Cyrus gave, stuff to rebuild the temple. That might be, No, I'm just kidding. That's not reparations. But that is definitely help. I'll take some of that help. If you want to help me build some things, that'd be great. Hundreds of years of black blood spilled, and this is what they're doing. It's simply not enough to remove statues. And this is where they're coming out. See, this is why I'm so anti-mask. This is why that what seems like small things that I'm a stickler for, some of you give me pushback. It's like, this is not where to draw the line. Maybe it's not where we should draw the line with statues. Maybe we should just, replace them. Maybe we shouldn't draw the line with masks. And this is what happens every time with civil unions, gay marriage, LGBTQ, transgender people, now transgender people teaching kids. And then there's sex changes, and then it's boys and girls in the same bathrooms, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And what happens every single time? And we've talked about this before. When the progressives, the liberals, the people that are rejecting God and establishing their own authoritarian rule, when they win a victory, it's no longer enough. When they're fighting the battle, that's all that matters. And if you are not with us, you are evil. You're part of the problem. And this is what we need. This is what has to happen, or we cannot have civilization. This is what needs to happen. And then it happens. And then that's not enough. We need to go farther. So when these reparations happen, when they get instituted, which all it is just furthering the progressive agenda. That's all it's going to be. It's increasing welfare. It's increasing government programs. It's increasing taxation in this city. Then it's not going to be enough anymore. It happens every single time. Chart any progressive agenda item, because it's never about the item. If it was, they wouldn't need to progress. They would just start fighting for the specific things. But it's a long train of abuses. It's a long train of tactics, of battles that they're mounting and building on to get to what they really want, which is government centralized control. It starts with the masks, then it goes to closing businesses, then it goes to closing churches indefinitely, and if you're in California. But don't worry, guys, Romans 13 was written, so, it's cool. God's okay with never opening churches again in California. Yeah, that's that stupid. But anyways, the councilman Keith Young says it's not simply enough to remove statues. Black people in this country are dealing with issues that are systemic in nature. The unanimously passed resolution does not mandate direct payments. Instead, it will make investments in areas where black residents face disparities. Oh, just like, what is it called? Welfare, public housing. How do those places work out? The resulting budgetary and programmatic priorities may include, but not be limited to, increasing minority home ownership and access to other affordable housing, increasing minority business ownership and career opportunities. So it looks like we're switching from black to minority altogether. Strategies to grow equity and generational wealth, closing the gaps in healthcare, education, employment, and pay, neighborhood safety, fairness with criminal injustice. The resolution reads. So it looks like the sleight of hand is going to be minorities. And what we are seeing here is favoritism, partiality, as the Bible puts it, racism. Then goes on and says, slavery is an institution that serves as a starting point for the building of the strong economic floor of white America while attempting to keep blacks subordinate forever to its progress. And this is what I have as a question for you all is, did America really become so rich and powerful off of slavery? Because I think I remember where we were divided and the North didn't have slaves and the South did have slaves. And the North was the powerhouse. The North was the ones innovating, the ones that were having the railroads, the one that did have the factories and the production. And the South was the slave owners. And the South were the ones that were doing, the agricultural things. And wasn't it the North who kind of just overcame and overpowered them because the South ran out of money? Because they couldn't sell their cotton bonds anymore? See, it seems to me that it is true that we did have slavery and it was evil and we shouldn't excuse it. But the North did pretty darn good without slavery. They built a lot of wealth and capabilities and industries without slavery. Somehow we forget that divisions that happened. And maybe, just maybe, the South was poorer than the North because of slavery. They weren't building the progress that they are painting it to be from slavery, but they were suffering. Their economies were suffering from it. And I think there's an actually intellectual argument to be made about that. I hope it's intellectual because I'm making it right now. That because slaves did not get paid, that they weren't able to earn a living, that they weren't their own property, that the money that what's the word for it? I'm losing it. The revolution. No, not revolution. The money, how fast money created. There's an economic term. It'll come back to me in like 2 minutes. But the way that money increases and the wealth increases in a society and how a dollar goes farther in the economy, there's a word for it and it's just at the tip of my tongue and I just can't get it. Doesn't happen as fast as it does in the North and the South because those men and women that were slaves were not able to earn the market value for their labor. And so the economy in the South wasn't able to grow as fast because not as many people were sharing in that economic benefit from the owners. I'm really trying to think of the word for it. Oh, there's such a word for it. Anyways, that is neither here nor there, but I just wanted to really drive home this point because we're running out of time and I just spent like a minute trying to think of a word that I can't even think of. Revolving? No, there's a word for it. I think it starts with an R. Okay, but this is my point. And just like what we see in California and just like what we see in all the other cities, the redistribution of wealth goes up, which means taxes go up, which means there's going to be less incentive for people with wealth, with capital, to invest in these cities. And what's going to happen is the people that are rich and wealthy and businesses have enterprise that were driving this city to grow and creating a great place to live are going to leave. They're going to go on the outskirts, or they're going to go to other states. And because in our country, the beauty of it is the cost of switching states and moving from one city to the next, one county to the next, one state to the next is so low that anyone with any kind of means is going to do it, because they're going to escape these increased taxes. And it's not just these reparations, but it's the reparations, it's the taxes on top of that. It's more and more. And it's the next issue that's going to have more taxes. And it's just a never ending spiral. And you don't have to believe me. You just look. Chicago, New York, Minneapolis, LA, California. It's the same story. It's the same game plan. It's the same mistakes. It's the same bad policies. And the only people that are going to be left are the black people getting reparations until there's not enough money to give them reparations anymore, until there's not enough money to fund their public housing, and they become ghettos and they become poor. And the only people left in Asheville, North Carolina are going to be poor people. And what's going to happen? Asheville's going to go the way of Detroit, New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, LA. These policies do not help black people. They hurt people. They hurt black people. They hurt the poor people and the other minorities that are going to be there. They're not going to leave. They're not going to leave that check. They're going to stay. Even though the crime's going to rise, even though buildings are going to be destroyed and dilapidated. How come I can remember that word, but not the economic word I wanted to say? They're going to stay because they're making money there. The government's giving them money and they get in that trap. But the people that aren't and having to pay more money and can afford it are going to leave. And that is like basically you're filling the barrel with water, but there's tons of holes and you put more and more holes with the more taxes, more government restrictions, more of these crazy progressive policies until the water just doesn't fill up anymore. It doesn't even get halfway. It doesn't get a quarter way. And that's how you get the cities that we live in, like Chicago, Minneapolis, New York. It's sad. This is going to hurt black people. This is going to destroy Asheville. This is going to destroy every community that goes after it. Don't let this happen to your city. Don't let this happen to your county. Don't let this happen to your state. We have to fight. And if you don't know how to fight, if you don't know how to get involved to prevent this, go listen to my show yesterday, the Orange County show, and be encouraged, get involved, get into the fight. Let's go be successful. We'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless.